Okay, so now we've got the motherboard out. We have an empty chassis. We have over here the SATA drives and the hookups and so on, which are not active. And then this is the new series 5400 series Xeon based board, which is the 026 version. And of course you can find this information out very quickly by looking at the different barcode setups and identifying the motherboard. And these have 5470s on board. And I've already started putting on the voltage regulator stems, and I'm going to be putting the shield housing connector for the heat sinks back on play. And basically, as you can see, the processors are not glued up just yet. I'm going to wait on that until I've got everything in place. And at this point stage, I'm reattaching all of the components for the motherboard. One other key detail that needs to happen, and it's one of the reasons why the voltage regulator stems are in place, is the metal underplate here is held in place by the stems themselves by the screws you see. That's not going to be the case for the multiple sets of screws that are provided for the heat shields, but it is definitely the case for keeping it in play before you attempt to put it back underneath the chassis. Okay, at this point in stage, we have resecured the new motherboard in place. It is not an easy process because of this little guy right here. It is basically a obstacle, of course. But once you get these little slides to fully release, the spacing wise, and it goes all the way up to this point where the indicator shows, you actually will have a nice, good, solid seat connection. And you can also tell that because the holes now are threaded clearly in the air, and you can pass a screw right through and into the actual threading. It is this that causes the problem. The easiest fix to get around this problem is to lift like a slight jiggle to the motherboard. You go up and down, and that allows it to eventually slide into place so that you can then put the screws back in. And in this point in stage, you will notice also we're not going to use screws because they tell you with the little crosses on the screws not to thread them. This is actually all held in place with this one screw here, and that's a good thing because it does technically make it easier to remove the unit. This is going to end stage 4, and we're going to progress to stage 5 where we put all the devices back on board and initiate a boot. So as I'm doing that, of course, during my final endpoints, I'm going to be reattaching the cable feeds back into their proper homes so that they can do what they need to do. Don't forget these connectors, and especially if you have taken off a complete cable set, remember that these are keyed, and there are little markers on them that match the actual keying on the actual port, so that way you won't make the mistake of putting them in wrong. Stand by for part 5.